Hey, I'm Joe, and I am the writer for Neon Dreams, a 2D platform shooter where you play as an arms dealer set in this magic-infused cyberpunk world, or universe, honestly. Although instead of going out and buying and selling weapons, you are doing basically everything from your office. You start your day with a cup of coffee or your choice of drink, you buy your weapons from a catalog, and then you load up a virtual reality simulation. And if a simulation is a success, then you get to sell your loadout and make money. This isn't so much as a grand story tale, it's more of a living day to day, try to make as much money as you can. A day in the life as an arms dealer in a cyberpunk future with magic involved. Today I'd like to talk to you about some of the characters that I got to write for. When you first start playing the game, you get this package in the mail. And you open it up, it has some ammo, it has some money. And then kind of at the bottom, you find this decapitated head of a synthezoid woman. But don't worry, she's still alive. Her name is Jewel, and she basically acts as your office secretary, more or less, in your business. Aside from a few main characters that will call you themselves, she acts as an intermediary between yourself and a bunch of other clients. And despite being in a situation where she is just a head in a box, she straddles the line between professionalism when dealing with these clients and sort of joking around with you, in a manner of speaking. You don't really get to see much of Jewel in the demo. You see her a little bit in the tutorial, and you see some parts of her in the dialogue with some clients, some primary clients. A lot of that also has to deal with the fact that we don't have an office tutorial just yet. I know that might seem kind of weird, like one of the first things you should do is the tutorial for how to play the game, right? Actually, it's kind of flipped around. You make the game first and then you do the tutorial, and tutorials are like one of the hardest things to design, to program, to write for, because it depends on you finalizing a lot of different things first in order to make a tutorial out of. But there's more to come later, I promise. Jewel is a synthezoid, a synth. She is a person. You know, synthezoids are considered people in this universe. There are debates depending on different robots and mechanicals, how sentient they are, how much of a person they can be, and the lines about how much of a person is considered an actual citizen and whether or not they have those kinds of rights is something that's kind of debated in this world continually. But for the most part, when you are a synthezoid to her extent, you are considered a person and a citizen, even if you are just a head in a box. The wizard represents the magical side of this universe, but he also embodies the conflict that magic has in this universe also, because magic in this game is illegal. Casting spells will put you in prison for a very long time. Having enchanted items on your person will lead to a very hefty fine. So the wizard is this character who's spent the vast majority of his very long life practicing magic, and now in recent times is trying to figure out how to live a life without magic. Not saying that he's actually doing that, but he is having to pick up numerous side hustles. He's a taxi driver. He's this world's equivalent of a DoorDasher. He's a live mannequin. He does all kinds of different things just to make some money, because what he used to do to make money no longer exists, or it's no longer legal. That said, when push comes to shove, he's not afraid to utilize the skills that he's had to alert people of danger. As you will likely find out in his first primary quest, where he is basically alerted you to the presence of these bewitched mechanicals that have been tampered with by rebel mages that are the complete opposite of the wizard. So far, I'm mostly writing dialogue for the wizard, because he'll kind of go off with the whole, I am a master of the arcane, wielder of the ancient knowledge, and then he'll just sort of ramble off and talk about, his sky taxi job or whatever. He does have one particular dream he wants to achieve in the final years of his life, but I'll let you discover that for yourself. The scientist is a very morally gray kind of character when it comes to experimentation and research. They constantly wear this robotic mechanized suit, and they've been around for a long time. No one knows who or what they really are. We don't have voice acting in Neon Dreams, but if we did, the voice of the scientist would be very robotic, very, very distorted. They have an entire colony on the moon dedicated to their scientific research. And right now, the scientist is very focused on the weird. And the weird are these weird biotech, magic-infused organisms that are spreading across a lot of whatever open surface it can find throughout the galaxy, pretty much. The scientist is very interested in the weird, and their team is very... well, they're the only ones that have any kind of interest into them, mainly because the weird are very passive. They don't really attack unless they are attacked, or unless you encroach too close to them. The quest you'll be doing for the scientist in the demo is one where he finds himself trapped on a remote planet called Charlotte 2b. Charlotte 2b is very interesting because it shares the same orbital ring as its sister planet Charlotte 2a. The two are constantly chasing each other, and eventually one day Charlotte 2a will eventually catch up to Charlotte 2b, and it'll be a problem, but it's going to be many years until then. There is now a massive planet-wide city entirely encompassing Charlotte 2a, and kind of because of that, Charlotte 2b has been left as like this wildlife refuge. Like, it's supposed to be completely untouched. Unfortunately, a few years ago, a company called Blaney Bites Vending Machines drop-shipped several thousand units of vending machines onto the planet's surface. So amongst this great wide expanse full of wilderness, you also have it kind of dotted with Blaney Bites burger vending machines. The scientist is there collecting samples for an experiment. Unfortunately, they got a little carried away, and they ran out of fuel to launch off from the planet and come back home. However, the scientist believes that they can use all the burgers from the vending machines to kind of use it as a different kind of fuel source. They send you the data and kind of want you to create a simulated assessment of how many burgers you need to collect in order to get an adequate amount of fuel. Using vending machine burgers to refuel a rocket ship on a different planet is just one example of how zany and wacky these quests can be. And last but not least, we have the Hunter, aka Mercury, that's her code name. I am aware that pretty much all the primary characters that you are working with basically don't really give you their actual name. In your line of work, knowing someone's true legal name is practically a death sentence. You yourself are referred to as the arms dealer. Mercury has a very laissez-faire, devil-may-care kind of attitude when it comes to most things. She is going to do what she wants to do in the moment. You see Mercury in her introduction in the demo, but beyond that you don't see her too much. You'll have to wait until the game launches to really see her full story. Whereas the wizard has a conflict about having to deal with the changing of time, the scientist has a conflict about learning too deeply into things that don't want to be figured out. Mercury, the bounty hunter, is going to learn what happens when her boss's interests no longer align with hers, and she'll have to start to question what's best for her in the long run. If you made it this far and anything sounds interesting to you, please by all means, hit the link down in the description, down in the comments, play the demo of Neon Dreams today, and join our Discord. Let us know what you think about the game. Give us feedback. The team would greatly appreciate it. Until then, as always, be safe, be well, be kind. Bye-bye.